Good evening, everybody. Mike Geary for the Geek Pride cast on this Sunday evening. With me, we have another guest, which I will get to last. But first up, we have Geek Pride cast regulars, Jon Jo Cosgrove.
Good evening, everyone.
Peter Ray Allison.
Hey, how you doing?
And our special guest tonight, Ash Patterson. Welcome, Ash.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, not bad at all, man. Not bad at all. So, Ash, I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for a while now, because you're such an interesting chap. You're, I follow you within. I'm one of these guys who sort of follows your Facebook feed with like I stalk your feed and stuff. I sort of kind of, because you've always got some really good sort of points and stuff going through it and stuff. And I just sit and go, yeah. Stuff, but I don't sort of, and I was saying, we like a few podcasts ago, I said, right, I need to get him on the podcast at some point in time, and I sometimes I feel naff asking people, do you want to come on my podcast?
Yeah.
So I just didn't want you to turn around and go, what, why? But I bit the bullets and I asked you, and you thankfully. So yes. For those of you who don't know Ash, he is a father, of course. He is a cosplayer who founded the London Ghostbusters and the UK Ghostbusters.
I didn't found the UK Ghostbusters, but I'm a part of the UK Ghostbusters, and then within that there's divisions, and then a friend of mine from the UK Ghostbusters who live in London, we then made the franchise, the London Ghostbusters, which is part of the UK Ghostbusters. So yeah,
awesome. And you also are comic book guy in Ranganation, which is amazing, man. Like, we'll actually talk about that first, and then we'll go on to maybe some of the more stuff. But how is the Ranganation? How is that? How did you get onto it in the first place? And two, what's it like as an experience?
Right, yeah. So Ranganation, seriously, it was just through an advert. I'm always cursing my brain, inflicting me with insomnia now and again, and never being able to go to sleep, and then going through these, black holes of threads through Twitter or Wikipedia. Oh, I never know about that. Let's look in there, and then let's look in there, right? And then it just never stops. And that's kind of how I discovered the application form for Ranganation. I was just on Twitter. I saw Ramesh saying, if you got interesting opinions and whatnot, and you've got something to say, then why don't you join me in my new show? And so this was like 2:00 in the morning. I'm thinking, okay, well, I ain't got nothing else better to do. Looked at the application form, and apart from the formalities and your name, where you're from and whatnot, some of the questions were quite, they were interesting to say the least. So I answered it and gave my own spin, and whether they thought it was witty or not, I don't know. That's for them to say. But it was enough for them to ring me and say, oh, we liked your application form. Do you want to come in for a run through or what? It wasn't a run through at that time. It was just I suppose, an interview, just to see how I am. So they said, yeah, go there. It starts at 9 and finishes at 1. But if you go at the beginning, then you'll be like one of the first ones. So all right, cool. So I go there at like 9:15, and I don't get asked or interviewed or whatever. I don't go through this process until about 1:30, 2:00, and all of these people are going past me, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? I'm just pissed. And then because I've been like prepping, okay, if they say this, I'm gonna say this, and if they come with this angle, I'm gonna do that. I'm very like methodical in how I like try to answer things. But that just went out the window because I'm like, well, you've kept me waiting for this long now. And then they said, okay, Ash, would you like to come in? And then because I was like so pissed of waiting for so long, everything that I had prepared just went out the window. I just spitballed it, and they loved it, and they called me in for a run through. And that's when I met Ramesh. I spoke to Ramesh, And he was like, "Okay, you're a comic book guy. Why is that?" And I was telling him, I like graphic novels. I do cosplay, and he loves graphic novels as well. So we was, getting off like that. And I got confirmed for the show, and I've been on, both seasons now. So yeah.
How many episodes is it? How many episodes is it?
It's 6 episodes per season.
Okay.
How it's been. So yeah. It's pretty fun. It's very unique in its take on asking the general public. Well, they can't just ask the general public, but they're getting specific, interesting people from the British public and getting their takes on topical subjects on that particular week. And it's funny because there's a range of people that I would never really think twice on speaking to. Not to say that I'm snobbish like that, but people have their own interests, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I don't see where I would find interest in speaking to you. But then getting to know them backstage and in the green room, and everyone's just so lovely, and I get along with everyone. They're just it's a really great group.
Oh man, sounds like an absolute. Like I'd love to do something like that, but I don't think I've got the. I struggle, I think, when it comes to sort of kind of even like in the podcast, I struggle to do things live and stuff. I don't have that witty sort of banter, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I guess you kind of need that. You need to be quite quick witted to be on TV.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like what they say is, look, don't worry about thinking about something witty because Ramesh is a comedian. It's not your job to make the audience laugh. Just speak from your heart on what he asks you, and then what they like they'll keep, and what they don't like, or even it's not even necessarily that they don't like it. It's because there's so much gold. I mean, you're seeing 45 minutes, and that's cut down from 3 hours of filming.
Wow, okay.
So there's a lot of gold that just hasn't been seen because it's just I feel sorry for the editors. They've got to put in so much great stuff, and they can only pick so much for 45 minutes. So
is there anything that you said? Is there anything that you said and you were like, "That's amazing. That's definitely got to go in," and it didn't make the cut? Is there any point where you're like, "Yeah, that was such a good point," and it didn't make it?
Yeah. We there was that thing about dating. I think it was the first season. I think it was like the first or third episode, and then they're like, "What are the major giveaways that your date wouldn't be a good person or something?" And everyone was coming out with, if they smell or if they were late or all of that. And I was like, well, one definitely red flag is if you're eating out and they're horrible or rude to the waiter or waitress, then that's a red flag. That
Yeah.
If they are mean to people that are giving you a service, do you know what I mean? Then they'll do. That's definitely a red flag that they could be a piece of shit to you later on down the line. And then Ramesh was laughing. He goes, actually, that's a very good point. I'm like, maybe I'll get featured, maybe. And then it just didn't get through. But it was just one of those things, really.
Yeah, I suppose, like you said, 3 hours down to 45 minutes. They literally just got to fire in stuff.
Yeah, it's just one of those things.
Yeah. I was thinking back. I was thinking back to the first time I ever met you, and I think is the guy called Dane? Is it Dane?
Yeah, Dane.
He's
the co-founder of Ghostbusters London with me. He's the one that did it with me.
That was it. I remember it was you guys, and it was my first ever convention in London. Like a wide-eyed nerd who'd never been to the he'd barely been to the Big Smoke, let alone sort of to a convention. It was LSCC,
right?
Yeah, I think so.
LSCC, yeah.
And
that when I was in Axel Foley?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Dane
I
was like,
those photos, man. Those photos are brilliant.
Yeah, and Dane was Judge Dredd, I think, wasn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
Dane was Judge Dredd. Yeah. I do remember seeing you at LSCC in your Ghostbuster stuff, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was one of the first meets, and I was just like, this guy's awesome. He's just like,
Yeah,
your Axel Foley is absolutely bang on. It is amazing, absolutely amazing. Just down to the isms and the way you pose and stuff, quality.
Man, I mean, Eddie Murphy's one of my big escapes. Is comedy.
Yeah.
And Eddie Murphy's been one of the, in regards to movies and stand-up, he's been the one that's supplied my escapes for many years. And Coming to America and Beverly Hills Cop, those were like the two from him that really, I like hold in high regard. So I thought, no, I had to do this. It was only actually until someone pointed out, oh, you look a bit like Eddie Murphy if you used to shave. And I thought, oh shit, yeah. And then I started looking for the actual get-up. Now for cosplayers, and it doesn't really matter, so to speak. There's no purity test on what makes you the best cosplayer. But for a lot of cosplayers, they really like to be as accurate as possible. The jeans, the trainers, even the shirt, that was relatively okay. It was the jacket that was hard, because the jacket is a Detroit Lions jacket, which is an American football team.
Yeah.
And they don't have that particular jacket anymore. So I had to go and scour around, and it was only until I found an independent seller who actually stopped making it, but I persuaded him to make one more for me, fit to size, that he did it. And he goes, and I said it's because of, I'm doing a cosplay. And then I messaged him I sent him the photo once it was all done and I had all the cosplay. And it was like, yeah, this was totally worth my time making it for you. So that was nice for him to say. Have you done
Coming to America? You've done them in their McDowell's outfit, have you?
Yeah, I've done them in McDowell's. So yeah, that was another pain in the arse, man. I had to look for the right tartan.
Yeah.
For the actual, because with Scotland and tartan, it's all about tribes and families, so you can't just get the wrong one. And so I was looking at the screen accurate run, and then going through eBay and Amazon and all through these stores and whatnot to see which was the right tartan. It was only till I found the closest one after like 2 months of scouring through the internet that I found one. And then I did the McDowell's one. I went to McDonald's, which was across the road from the Comic-Con that I debuted it at, and they lost it. They put me behind the till and took photos, and they loved it.
Samuel
Cleo McDowell.
Samuel Jackson's the robber in that.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
yeah. It's just like, it's mad. I watched it so many times as a kid, like so many times, and I was watching it with my girlfriend the other day, and I went, "Holy shit, that's Samuel L. Jackson!"
Yeah,
I hadn't seen it in ages. I was just like, "Oh shit."
So but I haven't done the royal clothes, so to speak.
The royal penis is clean.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I actually had friends who were willing to be the rose bearers. So whenever I walked, they would just like throw like the roses on the floor when I walk. So I had everything. I had all the people and all that to like do it, but just it was the clothes. That's my big Everest that I need to conquer.
You need to do that, man.
I need to do it. Hopefully, I will do it at some point.
Oh, absolutely amazing. What's your favorite Eddie Murphy film then? What is Eddie?
It's Coming to America, without a doubt.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Coming to America. I can watch that film. Yeah.
I'm a massive.
I don't
fan
get bored of it.
Of Trading Places.
Yeah.
I love that film.
Yeah.
I love it.
Brilliant.
I am very happy to be here.
Yeah.
It's so good, man.
It was I watched that about a month ago, and
I
realized that Giancarlo Esposito, the one that plays Gus from Breaking Bad, he's in that as well. He's one of the prisoners when Eddie Murphy's in there.
He's in obviously Beverly Hills Cop, isn't he? Because he plays. He's like, cuz.
Yeah.
What we got? Oh, sorry, message on Facebook. It's our friend Patty Kemp. Good evening, all. Love coming to America, Trading Places, and The Golden Child. And The Golden Child's one I haven't seen
Yes.
in a long time.
I've seen that. Absolutely love that film.
Yes. Golden Child is brilliant.
Yeah.
You know what I like?
Oh, Pete, you just could you just say something there because I think you zoned out.
The one
You are
thing I
muted,
really
sir.
like.
Cannot hear you.
I'm not okay.
Or is it me?
I can hear you.
Maybe it's
I
me.
can hear him.
Did
no,
you
Matt's
just mute
gone
me?
deaf.
No, it's me. I'm such an idiot. That's showing you that professional. Do you know what it was? It was a simple. I pressed the little thing on my my mic and it turned itself off. So I'm a fool. A fool, I say. Okay. This is why Matt shouldn't be on live anything, basically. On live anything whatsoever. So I kind of want one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on, Ash, is that I'm not sure if you would it be what's the word? Would it be should of me to say that you're a political activist in a way?
You know when you hit a sore point.
That would be, I don't know, a political activist. I think
you're very
I don't know if
maybe
I-
not an
I don't know
activist,
if
but
I
you're
can-
very you're very passionate about politics and about
yeah.
the causes that you believe in.
social justice, yeah.
Yes, social justice, 100%. And therefore, I kind of want to talk to you because you obviously Black Lives Matter is something that three middle-class white guys can't really sort of talk about in any sort of major without sounding like dickheads, basically.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So it's by all means, we tried our sort of, and then it's just like, you know what, we need somebody who basically lives it and who knows about it and stuff. So I can't. Firstly, I want to sort of talk to you about as a person of color growing up. It has racism in the UK. Has it been something that has affected you? Has it been something that affected you? Basically, is it something that you have witnessed on a day-to-day basis?
It will affect. I think it affects everyone to a certain degree. Racism in itself is a structural thing. So James Baldwin, who was a famous social justice speaker on this issues, he says if a white person was to call me the N-word, then that's his problem. But if he wanted to call me the N-word and beat me up and then get away with it, then that's my problem. So what he was saying, in a nutshell, is that just calling me a word is fine. That person calls me a word. He's an arsehole, but that's fine. Calling me a word, but if there is a system in place that allows him to call me the word or allows him to do things and gets away with it, then that is a bigger problem. And that generally is what racism is about. It's more than just slurs. It's a whole system that's being entrenched. It's in our economy. It's in our education. It's in our social norms. And it's in our politics, naturally. So, it has affected me, just like it will affect any other person of color, to a degree that will be in various degrees and levels compared to one person. But yeah, it has affected me.
Do you think? Now, I was trying to think about it sort of in my own context and stuff. Is racism something that is learned? Is it? Do you think it's something that is inbuilt in a tribal society where, you know, there's some sort of mistrust with something that's different?
I definitely think racism is learned.
Yeah.
But with being in the West,
Yeah.
it is very, very difficult to not be, I won't say be racist, but to have racist tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
Even people of color, they may have some discriminatory tendencies of it. So being honest, one of my friends, he says, treat it like COVID. All right. Assume you have it. Hope you don't. And, do all the precautions that you need to make sure that you can, rid yourself of it. And warn people and warn others about it. So within the education and this whole way that we've been brought up in the West, we will definitely have some tone deaf maybe opinions on some things, because this is what has been pumped to us through the education and through the media on a day-to-day basis. And it's very, very hard unless you're going out your way to educate yourself and otherwise of what's being told to you, to say, oh, actually, that is actually not the way to believe or think in regards to this particular position. And now I know that I should act better and do better.
So it's education is quite key.
Yeah, education is what what we all need to get rid of ourselves in regards to racism. Now there are a lot of people that will do that, and a lot of these people they don't mind doing so because they have that natural thirst for knowledge and curiosity and wanting to know more and do better. There are other people who don't mind coming out of their comfort zone because it is uncomfortable to have it to say, oh, these are your preconceived notions. This is what you kind of need to unlearn. So it's not nice to know this about yourself and then say, oh, okay, well, now I need to do better. But we are in this world right now where social justice is kind of caught the attention of the global conscience, and there is a lot more people than there were before that have decided to go, well, enough is enough. What do I need to do to make sure that I become a better person, and what do I need to do to make sure that I can educate ones around me and do the best that I can within my own means. So that's comforting to see.
Yeah, I had a bit of a run in like this. One of the reasons, like my girlfriend, we went back to Northern Ireland, and one of the massive reasons I don't sort of really want to live there is not because of the place or even like the people are really, some of the people are super nice. You're going to get some really nice people, but their views on things are so backwards and insular. And I was talking to a fella, I was walking the dog with my mother and my girlfriend, and we bumped into this fella, and he was, was nice as pie, super nice guy, talking about the dog, saying, dogs are better than people, and going on about how people should be more like dogs, and just sort of loving and blah blah blah. And then he ended it, and this is what Northern Ireland, and obviously in England as well, but it's very prevalent in Northern Ireland, is what the problem is? It's this Black Lives Matter, it's pure chaos and stuff like this. And I was just like, and I was about to say something, and my mum went, okay, we gotta go now. She pulled me off, sort of pulled me off, my god, no, she dragged me off, and my mother did not pleasure me, but yeah, and that for me seems to be there seems to be this, she's like, that movement for some reason is, I don't understand where they're getting this from. I know there's the odd I know there's the odd person who spoils things by being overly zealous or maybe violent or something like that, but
Yeah.
I just don't understand where. I wonder if it's just them wanting to believe this, so because they feel under attack, you know, as white is sort of as white people, they're under attack from this new sort of somebody's trying to destroy their way of life, and it baffles me somewhat. It baffles me.
It's quite funny because you know, in different societies, well, you know, the Western society, let's say, in different demographics, there's different privileges, right?
Yeah.
So there's you know, an ableist privilege, right? So I may have some blind spots on being able to do things or taking things for granted because I'm not disabled, and therefore I could do things, and it may be a bit, you know, tone deaf if I was to, you know, not take into account of a disabled person if I was to speak to him or do something, right? There's a male privilege that exists, obviously, with the patriarchy, where you know, I really don't think twice about walking down the street at night near my house to go home. But my wife, on the other hand, will go, well, actually, no, I'd rather not, because, you know, with the fear of being harassed or whatnot. And then there is white privilege, where that is not to say white people don't go through any hardships. That's ridiculous notion. What it what it means is that the barriers that they go through or the hardships that they go through, it's nothing to do with their skin. It may be they may go through barriers, and it may be a pain in the ass for them, just like with everyone, because that's just a fact of life. Life is hard, but it wouldn't be because their skin is white is what is making that barrier. So with that being said, you know, when you see Black Lives Matter, maybe there's an internal signal that comes up and go, whoa, you know, now you guys are trying to demand for these rights or whatnot. Maybe they think that they're not going to get this unspoken, unwritten rights that they've always had, which is not the case. You know, equal rights is not pie. It's not like, well, if we get some now, you guys are gonna get less equal rights. It's just whatever you guys are getting, we would like that as well. We would just like to be at the table. We would like to not be unnecessarily stopped by police. We would like to not have to look at the crime rates of people of color when we go to a holiday destination. We would like not to, be necessarily penalized at school for how our hair is, shaped or being misunderstood and being held backwards because we're looked at as inferior, right? That's where this whole Black Lives Matter is talking about, and of course with the main things that are coming to light, which is the unjust murders that are taking place in America, and the police. I mean, the UK is not innocent as well, and we know that through many examples. But yeah, it's you have Belly Mujinga, you have Stephen Lawrence, 20 plus years now, no justice, and many other examples, Mark Duggan. So yeah, what Black Lives Matter is just saying, look, we equal, we exist as well, and as a human right, we deserve to have the same exact human rights as everyone else, and that is just not the case.
I think actually I've got a message from Patrick there Podrick. I couldn't give her a sec. Paddy on Facebook. There are bad people in all walks of life, regardless of color. I strongly believe that life is hard enough as it is. Why can't we all just live in peace and have fun and help out the fellow brothers and sisters? The world is batshit crazy. Agreed, 100%. It's just when you mention sort of blind spots, I agree, because there is, and I've only sort of started sort of realizing this myself over the last sort of say 10 years, and it started more with my. I'm a master history buff. I love history, and I studied it. I still sort of study it. I'm very up on my history, and there was what I would learn when I was in school, and what I wanted to learn initially, and then there's the stuff that I learn now, and I got to a point that I was reading things that were histories, and I felt like I didn't want to read them, and it was stuff that I'm from Northern Ireland, so my family, my uncle was in the Royal Artillery, my grandfather was in the Royal Air Force during World War II, my great grandfather was in World War I and World War II, so there's a big history sort of British servicemen, and because of that, when you're growing up, you've got this sort of built-in sort of pride, as it were, and I started reading stuff that what I call the uncomfortable histories, and I got to a point where at the start I wouldn't read them because I was like, but that goes against everything that I sort of want to believe, and then I got to a point where I went, but that's not history. History is blind. History is literally, it's all there. You've got to take it or leave it, basically. And I started reading stuff about things, about Britain, about America, about all the countries. It was the same one, with religion and things. And I just sort of was going through everything surgically. And it got to the point where I would actively seek out things that contradicted something that I believed in, because I felt like I needed to understand the other side to make a view on things. And I think it was the same with my views on race and stuff like that. Now, I would always say that I didn't think I was a racist person, but then I think back at, jokes maybe I told when I was a teenager, or things I might have thought was funny or said and stuff, and I was like, well, you kind of were. And, I think you need to accept that, and accept that that was a part of who you were, but you're going to be a better person going forward, knowing what you know now. And I think there's a lot of people who they have this sort of, especially in Northern Ireland, and I guess, or just in the UK, in a lot of countries, especially when you've got very sort of nationalistic feelings about things. If you're told something that is contrary to that insults the place that you're from, then people get defensive and don't want to hear it, even if it's the truth. And that's where the fight is. And I think where the education comes from is the acceptance that, a lot of shit has happened, but you can make it better going forward. And that's where the direction needs to go. There needs to be that sort of, there needs to be that need or want to move forward, instead of, retreating into this sort of, World War II romanticized view on how we are and who we were and things. And there needs to be movement, and people have to accept that just because you're accepting this doesn't mean it's an assault on that person, on you as a person. It's basically meaning that as a society, as human beings, we're evolving and getting, we are becoming better people and a better society because of it, and that's not a bad thing. People think because all this change, everything that they know, all that they care about is going to crumble, but that's not the case. Social justice, like you said, being a better person, having equality is not going to be bad for anybody ever. No. So I don't, it's something you just need to accept. It's not going to destroy your way of life. No. Having equal rights is not going to destroy your way of life at all. Like Northern Ireland, they were forced to have, they were forced into abortion laws, and they were forced into equal rights for gay marriage and stuff. And it's just like, why did you have to be forced into something that should just be a natural right for somebody with equal rights? And it's just like,
Absolutely. And it's funny as well, isn't it? You know, you go, you know what? You know, with the LGBT, for everyone should have the same rights as everyone else to get married and love who they love. And there's some people in the world that go, nah, you know what? I disagree. It baffles me. It really baffles me.
What I don't understand very much is that it's like I have religious friends, and they're very into their thing, but that's their thing, and they're very happy to go along with it. They don't pontificate to others about it and stuff. That's their personal thing. Religion, and I'm very, very happy for people if they want to be religious and they want to force that on to people. That's their, it should be a personal thing. So if somebody wants to marry if a man wants to marry another man, if he's going to go to hell, if you believe he's going to go to hell, well, he's going to go to hell. It's not your problem. You don't.
It doesn't affect you. Yeah,
it doesn't affect you. So it's just like, and it's the same thing. It's just like, if you have personal view, you shouldn't be forcing this stuff across everybody. It should just be, live and let live. If you've got those personal views, fine, all right, but you don't have to be a knob about it and sort of fire it across everywhere. And unfortunately, Northern Ireland is very much like that. It's just, it's weird. It's really, it's annoying because there's some lovely, lovely, lovely people. And it's just like, for example, in my village, when my father died, everybody from the village turned up to his funeral. Like everybody, man, like it was just like, it was amazing. Like I'd had a few underlying issues with them because the way he treated my, some of the stuff, because, religious politics sort of thing, with my family being a mixed sort of family, and
there's Protestant and
Catholics, it's like we're bar my mother. My mother's sort of English Catholic. I was baptized Protestant. My father was baptized Protestant. My sister and brother were baptized Catholics. Now we're pretty much atheists. Well, we are atheists all, bar my mother, who is my mother, who's very, she's a Catholic who sort of accepts that her children don't have a belief, but I had a few issues because my sister and my brother and my mother they still live in the village, and it's a loyalist Protestant village, and I worry because of that. There's going to be issues with some of the more radical Protestant loyalist types who might take umbrage to them being, even the fact that they're not religious, but the fact that they were baptized Catholics. And there were some things that, my sister was being, my brother and sister were being called tags and stuff, and that really annoyed me. And tags, like,
what's tag?
What is that?
It means Irish warrior, but it's a slang word it's effectively the N bomb for a Catholic. Okay. It's effectively,
really? Wow.
It's like effectively like the N bomb for calling a Catholic. It means Irish warrior, but it's a derogatory term if you call them. And the thing is, some of them still do it in a sort of joking way, but it would be the equivalent of me going up to you, Ash, oh yeah, you N bomb, and sort of kind of laughing it off and stuff. It's just like, it's the same sort of thing. And that, because of that, my views of them went massively. Now, it wasn't all of them, it was just some of them. My views kind of went down on it, and I was getting slightly upset about the whole thing because I was just like, nobody should have to, you should have to sort of deal with this sort of thing, and I, when my father died, all of them, to a man, turned up to the funeral. They brought my mother bread. They brought her eggs. They were amazing, absolutely amazing. And it upset me because it was just like, these people are so sort of, they're, in one way they're so amazing that they would do something like this, but in the other way they're so backward because they believe that because you're Catholic it matters, and it just sort of, and like I said, it's not all of them. It's a small sort of vocal minority and stuff, but even so, that sort of thing annoys me, and I think it might be similar in there's a lot of good people who have racist tendencies, so they're really good people, but they just can't get over that racial thing, And it's upsetting because you can see, like, I've met some people who I would say, oh, they're really nice people. Like that guy who I was talking to with the dog, you know, you're a nice guy. And then he brought in the Black Lives Matter thing. It's like, well, where did that come from? I don't understand. And it's slightly upsetting because, you know, you get so close to being, you know, why can't we all just fucking get along? You know? Yeah, just baffles me, man. Absolutely baffles me and stuff. And you know, like I said, I'm a middle class white guy, so my struggles in life have been very minimal. You know, I have not had to deal with this stuff, and therefore I've had a blind spot for these things. So when people have said, and I've found myself sort of, what's the word? I found myself sort of not believing it, but sort of kind of second guessing myself. So somebody will say something like, "This is happening," and I'm like, "Well, you know, I've never witnessed this. This hasn't happened to me." But then I'm thinking, well, I'm a white guy. You know, of course not. The worst I've had is being Irish in Manchester. You know, I've had a bit of sort of grief for being Irish, but it's very little compared to probably what a person of color would get on a daily basis in certain areas. So, you know, you are sort of blind to this sort of thing sometimes. You don't realize, and because you don't realize, you think it doesn't happen. And I find myself sort of saying like, well, you know, this can't happen because I don't know anything about it. Therefore, I'm a smart man. I should know this. It doesn't. And then and then you see this stuff happening. I think as much as social media can be a bad thing in certain areas and stuff, it's very good at showing like this shit's happening. This is going down, and you're missing it, and you're not picking up on this, and you need to see this. And then you know, reality just crashes in, and you're like, you know what? Yeah, you're right, and I need to do something about it.
Yeah, it's just you know, effectively, although we're living in the same country or we may have the same job or whatever, we are in two different realities, completely two different realities. And so when we're doing the exact same thing, or living in the exact same country, or you know, and I'm saying, look, this is what happened to me, and you, for the life of you, thinking, how? But why? Are you sure? I've never come across that or seen that. Are you? And it's just for a lot of Caucasian people. I think it's not. I don't think it's, you know, malicious at first. I don't think they go, nah, you're lying, and just gaslighting people of color. I think it's just out of just disbelief that they just can't believe it, because it just, why would that happen in you know, supposed to be a civilized society, but unfortunately it does, and this is why we kind of have to make that point now.
Yeah. What I find it is like people tend to have assumptions based on your appearance and your colour. And this kind of rammed home to me about 10 plus years ago when I was still working as an engineer. And me and one of my colleagues, Mode from Malaysia, we went to the training a week. Had to stay over in a hotel together. And we walked in together and said, "Hi, I'm Pete. I'm from this company." I said, "Oh, great. Yep, sign me off." And then Mode introduced himself and said, "Oh, are you from Malaysian Airlines?" And it was like, wow. No, he's an engineer a lot with me. And there was just that awkward silence. And they're just like, what do you think we're talking together? And you automatically assume that I just couldn't get it. It was absolutely, my jaw was on the floor.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
It was absolutely bizarre. I was stood staring at this receptionist, then my friend, then back at the receptionist going, very good. I'm sorry, what will do you want? But yeah, it was just like, there's something that looked at him and assumed, because also there was an airport nearby. It's all you from Malaysian Airlines. No, it's not. So yeah, that was kind of like when I've literally been there and seen it, it's shocking.
Yeah, and yeah, that's just that's just the tip of the iceberg of certain things as well. And obviously you've got other false narratives that are getting pushed. Well, you say Black Lives Matter, but what about black on black crime and all of these racial microaggressions that we get on a regular basis. A lot of it with false narratives, or you've just literally made it up, or just parroting off,
Well, I don't.
people that.
Sorry, Ash.
Yeah.
Sorry, but carry on. Sorry, my bad. Sorry for interrupting.
Yes. And now when people go, look, Ash, what is it? When you say Black Lives Matter, I took offense. I didn't mean to take offense, but what is it that you mean? Basically now, I give the same explanation that Claire Siccardi gave the other day when she said that. Listen, she gave a great explanation. She said, she started off with saying, carrots are a vegetable. A complete sentence, a statement, a fact. The carrots are a vegetable, changes nothing for the broccoli. It doesn't make the broccoli any less of a vegetable. The carrot is a vegetable, right? Yep. Now, when you read that, you don't feel the need to qualify it as a statement. You don't feel that other vegetables are threatened. You just agree and say carrots are a vegetable. Brilliant. Right. Black Lives Matter. A complete sentence, a statement, a fact. The fact that a Black Lives Matter changes nothing for a white person. It doesn't make any less, makes any person's other lives matter any less. It's just a Black Lives Matter. Yeah. And there's no need to qualify it or feel threatened, just like there wasn't need to feel threatened when I said the previous statement that carrots are a vegetable. And that's how you need to look at it. There's two things can be a fact. Black Lives Matter and everyone else lives matter as well. The only reason why we're saying Black Lives Matter is because there's a disproportionate amount of targeted attacks, racism, microaggressions and threats that are happening to Black lives in America and in the UK. And it's just something now that we're just trying to push to stop. And in fact, although the slogan is Black Lives Matter, being a part of these rallies and me even giving talks at these rallies as well, a lot of the time it's not just Black people. A lot of it is white friends and family and allies and other non-Black people from different communities that are coming up to say, you know what, although it's Black Lives Matter, this is essentially an anti-racist march, right? So really it's anti-racist versus racism, and we want to stamp out racism in all forms of society. Well,
the most recent casualty was a it's really bad, I've forgotten his name as well. Fellow who basically tried to stop the gunman, the inverted commas militiaman with his skateboard and got shot.
Yes, yeah. I shouted him out because he was a brilliant person. Yeah, his name was Adam.
Yes.
Sorry, Anthony Huber. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, he was the two people that were shot. Unfortunately, they were white allies, man, and they were fellow comrades who were at the front lines, just trying to. That have tried to do something within their means to make their community, their society, and the world as a whole as a better place. Yeah. Unfortunately, he had to suffer that fate.
I have one thing that sort of irks me a lot about, you get it a lot. You get it sort of tit for tat in Northern Ireland quite a lot when it comes to the politics over there, but it's also I found it in the Black Lives Matter sort of sphere as well, where to try and discredit or to nullify one side. They go, well, they can't be good because, like you said, there's black on black crime, or there's, look at this video, this black person is being angry to this white person. Why would and they try to use that as a way as like,
yeah,
and they're saying that this doesn't work. But the thing is, just because there's a bad egg, or just because there's there's something, I'll go back to Northern Ireland more because it's something I know, but it's like, they'll go that somebody was murdered, and they'll go, yeah, well, the British murdered loads and loads, and it's like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. Murder's not a good thing. It doesn't matter, and you shouldn't be using that as an argument to discredit that happening. It just fine, that just because they're a person of color commits a crime against another person of color doesn't mean that Black lives don't matter. It doesn't, it's just that's besides the point. Well, that's happened.
I mean, this whole black on black crime is a racist dog whistle anyway. It's a fallacy. It's a myth. Do black people, has a black person killed another black person? Yeah, of course. Just as a white person would have killed another white person, or an Asian person would have killed another. It's due to proximity, all right? And they may be the same reasons why other races have killed their own races, right? Maybe because of jealousy, but because of greed, probably because of whatever, right? It's got nothing to do with an overwhelming majority of black people just killing their own just for the sake of it, right? We never hear white on white crime or Asian crime, just black on black crime, because again, there's that underlying narrative. When you hear you hear black people on the streets, automatically what comes to your mind is hooded thugs and vandals and gangs and all of this. So yeah, that just needs to be debunked from the get go. That black on black crime as itself is no different to any other crime that you would see committed by someone to their own race. It's bad, and that's not what is being defended. But it's no more significant than what you see with a race unit to their other race. What we see on black and black crime is they're not killing each other because the other person is black. But what we're seeing from the horrible scenes that you're seeing from police in America and other thing is because they're getting racially profiled, and then that's spiraling out of control. And what should have just been an arrest has turned into a murder. And it's happened time and time again, and they get away with it scot-free without any accountability. And that's unfortunately why it's led to riots. And what happened at Minneapolis, whether you agree with it or not, is another thing. But, Martin Luther King Jr. said that riots are the language of the unheard. So if, imagine people that were taken 400 years, they were in slavery, and then they were released after slavery, and then 100 years after that, they were in Jim Crow segregation laws, where they were told to drink water from the colored fountain and to go to the colored toilet and to sit at the front of the bus and not the back, or the back of the bus and not the front, and having all of this, right? And then that stops, but then you're getting still these other racial systemic things that are coming in, like a disproportionate amount of unarmed black people getting stopped and getting killed, or getting refused credit loans or a mortgage, or getting refused a job. It takes a toll on the community, right? After that for a long time. And when you see no change in sight after we've been asking for so many times, look, this is just, we did the I Have a Dream, we did the peaceful walk, we did all right, don't loot, don't do this, okay, so we'll do it peacefully. We take a knee during sports just to show awareness. We get told, no, you can't do that. Then you just think, well, what other option that we have to do except for, to do something drastic to get the attention of people, and it's because police have been shouting from the tops of our voices for so long, and we don't seem to have anyone responding to us, that there are a portion of our community that think, well, I've reached the end of my tether, and this is the only way that I can see myself getting some attention.
Would you agree that there are people who sort of use it for their own, what's the word? Fuck, I can't even.
What, the opportunists?
Opportunists, yes, opportunists.
Yeah.
Do you think that?
They're opportunists.
Yeah, I think that's, and it's that small, that bad egg within a generally wider group of people who are doing things for the right reason that the other side will latch onto. So they'll see one and go, well, this must be everybody. And it's just like, well, it's not, obviously, is it? You're just picking on this one issue because it justifies, it shakily justifies your position.
Of course, there's opportunists, and there will be there. But, with opportunists, there are people that will wait. If a riot didn't happen, then there are opportunities that would wait for something else to latch onto and then take advantage of that situation. But the opportunities couldn't happen if the riots couldn't happen. But the riots wouldn't have happened if arrests didn't lead to murders and cops getting away with with what they're getting away with, and other problems that I've mentioned beforehand. So there is an underlying issue here, and although it seems like riots may be drastic, that's just a symptom of it. Right? That's just a symptom of an underlying cause.
Do you think gun control in America? Obviously, it's not a thing here, but gun control is a thing here, but it's not a thing really in America. The fact that guns are so prevalent is obviously the reason why it's easier just to shoot first and ask questions later. In America,
for what, with the police?
Yeah, with the police.
I don't know if it's about gun control. I mean, I'm strongly for gun control, common sense gun laws in America.
Yeah,
naturally, but I don't think that gun control, because the police will always have guns, whether gun control will be enacted in the States or not.
Very true. Yeah, very true.
What we've seen, in fact, is white criminals that have had guns, that have shot at police, or white criminals that are running away, and the police have done their jobs correctly by subduing them without having to use lethal force. But at the same time, they haven't extended that courtesy to people of color. And we're asking why. Now, we're not saying that police don't shoot any white criminals if a criminal is acting aggressive. Of course, that will naturally happen, but not on a disproportionate amount. Not on a disproportionate amount. To think that the African Americans are 13%, if that, of the United States, and in regards to incarcerations and the murders, they make up for like 60% of it. Like this, that's a disproportionate amount. There has to be an answer to why that's the case, and it can't be just black people are just more prone to criminality than.
The video you put on your when I was stalking your Facebook feed, the one where it was the white guy walking around, like running around, and he'd killed two people, and he was naked. He was running around naked, and they basically the cop who had a fucking gun was running around like, I don't know what to do with this. This is a white guy. He's got white guy armor on. I don't know how to deal with this, and he didn't do anything. Whereas you had the other, again, apologies, I remember his name, he got shot in the back 7 times.
Jacob Blake,
Yeah, and it's just like, well, come on, it's like, this guy killed 3 people, or killed 2 people, and then tried to strangle somebody else, and you're running after him like you don't know what to do. Whereas this other guy, he didn't obey your command, so you shot him 7 times in the back, and it's just like, And
that's the thing. Like, we're not saying, oh, well, why didn't the police kill that white guy? That's not what we're asking.
Yeah.
Fine. You can subdue him and tackle him and arrest him. Fine, we're not asking you to kill the white person, but again, at the same time, we're not asking you to shoot Jacob Blake in the back as well. We're saying keep that same reservedness that you have on using lethal force with white people to black people as well in the States. So yeah.
I'm going to ask you one more thing about this, and then we'll move on to something slightly a bit more upbeat. To sort of we'll sandwich it, so something sort of kind of happy at the start, sort of kind of more serious in the middle, and then maybe we'll end with something a bit more sort of lighthearted. Statuary, so statues and things like that. Now, I have changed my views on this slightly, simply because because of my love of history and stuff, I initially always thought, it's like, well, it's history, you shouldn't destroy history and stuff like that. And I remember at one point even sort of defending statues of Robert E. Lee and who
oh wow,
yeah, stuff like that. And I remember sort of kind of going, well, you shouldn't take statues down because that's a part of the history at the time. Now, my argument at the time was just like, well, Washington had slaves and a lot of the founding fathers had slaves, so if you take that statue down, then you should really take those statues down as well, because they were all party to slavery. I then sort of realized afterwards, when I had quite a good debate about it and stuff, but then afterwards it's like, what? This guy, the generals who fought in the Confederacy, fought for the ideal of slavery. It wasn't like, the average soldier who was pretty much fighting for their land. I think the historian Shelby Foote says, he said, what was it? When he asked a northern soldier said to a southern soldier, why are you fighting? He says, I'm fighting because you're down here. And that was it. So the average Joe who couldn't afford a slave was fighting simply because the northern man was in the southern lands, and that's what he was doing. Whereas Lee, Forrest, what's his name? I can't even remember the name of the fucking president of the Confederate States. It's gone, but in Richmond, wherever he was in Richmond, but they were all fighting for a society that's economic sort of power was based on slavery, and therefore, and the flag itself were symbols of that oppression. And I realized quite soon afterwards that I was wrong. But where my line stops, and I'm not sure what your views on this will be, is I don't agree with the vandalizing war memorials or memorials of soldiers. For example, your average Joe soldier who was fighting in a war, because I personally think as soon as that line gets crossed, you might as well destroy all historical monuments, because at some point in time, somebody's going to have benefited from this. What are your views on that?
So when they took the statue down at Bristol, it was a nice symbolic gesture, like seeing that. Do I think that there should be a team going around and taking down statues? Not necessarily, but I wouldn't go against establishments saying, well, actually, these are part. These are now upsetting to the people of color that live here, and I think we should revise it and put it up for someone who's more deserving. Now, there's two things that I want to point out here.
Yeah.
Number one is that statues are inherently for reverence.
Yeah.
They're not for history. Okay.
Yeah.
The traditional way to know about history, as you know more than anyone, Matt, is to study in the books, right?
100%.
And to go to the sources.
You don't learn from statues.
Yeah, I don't think you have you ever in your academic period that you studied history gone from statue to statue and started writing down notes? I don't think you have.
No.
This whole thing of it's erased in history. Well, you never knew about it before. You only heard about it when someone took it down.
That's why nobody knows about Hitler.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, right. So like it's a nonsense like smoke screen. Okay, the whole purpose of statues is for reverence, right? That's why people put up shrines. That's why you see Christ the Redeemer in Brazil, right? And this is why you see the Statue of Liberty in New York. And statues are for that purpose, or originally for that purpose. So, so if we're going to keep statues of reverence of people that have inflicted considerable amount of damage to a portion of the community that live in the UK and that contribute to the UK, then that's a bad look, and I think that needs to change.
Do you think there needs to be is there a line, or do you feel that it should be a case of, look, we've had a bad history, this needs to be wiped clean and we need to start again? So it would be literally a case of any sort of like zero tolerance on it, or is there like a line? Or
look, we need to be consistent. Okay, so what is this? Well, I can't even remember the name of the statue in Bristol. The person I used to know it from the top of my head at the time, and then
again, that's how important he was to people.
Yeah, like fine. If you want to keep these up for history, then put them in the history books. Put them into school. But we don't in Britain, because what we like to obsess about is the Tudors, the Victorians, skip a little bit further down, the war where we won and we beat fascism, yay, and then that's it. And we tend to conveniently erase the parts of our involvement
colonizing
in the slave trade and the British Empire, and how we treated the Windrush generation when they got here in the 50s. We tend to erase that in the school, in the schools and in the history lessons and in universities a lot of the time. So if you're saying that that's for history, then fine, be consistent and put it within the educational system as well. But if you don't want to, then there's no need for these grotesque people that I've lived in the past to have a statue erected and dedicated to them in modern day society.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, we'll leave that then. I think it's something we could probably go on for about ages. As soon as somebody wants to talk to me about history, I'm like, yes, let's do this. Let's go on about it. But I'll leave it, because we would literally be here for hours and stuff. So I'll leave it. Okay, so we'll cut off the political side. One of the something I kind of want to say is just like, Geek Pride had always been a non-political entity, in that we had always felt that, there's too much going on, it's all about geek unity and things like that. But then we realized, and again, it was only, we've been going for what, 6 years, 7 years? It was only more recently that we realized that, or at least I realized that, at some points in time, you just have to just make a stand on things, and that you need to accept that this, even if you aren't a political entity, you kind of have to be in a certain way, because you can't just sit back and let things happen just because, like, when we put up a post about the Black Lives Matter things, and I put a lot of thought into it, and I was like, right, this is it, and it was the first thing I did. I remember the first time. Sorry, I'm going off myself, but I remember the first time I put a political thing in Geek Pride, and it was about Gunn. It was about gun regulation in America, and I thought I just started Geek Pride. I can throw this up. This is my website. I can do whatever the hell I want, and I put it up, and people went absolutely nuts. Like, you literally had people leaving, sending all kinds of crazy shit, and I went, oh shit, I'm losing followers and stuff. So I stopped doing the political stuff, thinking it's going to affect me. But then, as time went on, and especially with the Black Lives Matter stuff, it's just like, I don't care. I would rather have people who believe in what I believe and are good people reading, watching, commenting than people who don't. And so I was just like, right, so that's it. Kid gloves are off, effectively. And so we posted something about it, and we got a bunch of people fucking standard, you know, stuff we've talked about on it, commenting, and it was laughable, to be honest. The good thing was that so many people jumped on top of them that they left, so it was good. It was literally so many people jumped, they argue against them, which I found quite reassuring. But it just got to the point that I felt like, we wouldn't talk about politics in podcasts, but I like politics, I like history, I like things like this, and I think, if you don't like it, tough. Well, you don't have to listen to the podcast.
I mean, in this day and age, in what has now been classified as probably the biggest civil rights movement in history now, Black Lives Matter reached all 52 states in America, and 18 countries outside of that, and it's been united hand in hand with not only black people naturally, but with white people and other people of races saying, look, enough is enough. We need racism stamped out now, and we need it. There isn't a time to be not racist. You need to be anti-racist. Not racist. Is a sign of neutrality, and there is no neutrality in racism. Yeah.
Very good point.
Very good point. You're either actively against it, or you're just fine to allow it to to continue and persevere and let it linger on. And in this day and age, when we should all know better, we have to actively stamp it out and be the ones for change. So,
well, I saw it was like, when big companies and stuff were coming out, and some of them were being a bit wishy-washy about their comments, and some of them were like, and it was just like, and I saw in loads of groups, people were putting stuff up. I was like, oh, I don't come to this group for, politics and things like that. And as much as I understand that you just want to see dogs or Warhammer 40k figures or something like that, there comes to a point where you have to, like you said, there's no neutrality in racism. You're either racist or you're not, and you've got to sort of you've got to take a side. And it was just the fact that you got people who were just, oh, I don't want to hear that, and I was just like, but you need to, I'm very much, me personally, I'm very much a grey. The world is grey. There's a lot in the world that there's a lot of complexity. Therefore, there's no real black or white, not in color skin, but black and white in the form of how politics works, history, blah blah blah. But with certain things, race being very much one of them, there very much is black and white and right and wrong, and you're either a racist or you're not, and you pick a side and you go there. And if you lose people because of that, because you've picked not being a racist, then those aren't the people you want buying your products or listening to your stuff or commenting on your videos. And it might be your livelihood, but sometimes you just have to sort of, you just have to pick a side. No, I'm lucky because this is a hobby. This is just an expensive hobby for me. And therefore it doesn't bother me as much. I can understand. Maybe I don't even understand it. But I can see where people like, we're going to lose loads of money and it affects people's jobs and stuff like that. But, you have to make you've got to basically put the line in the sand and go, this is it. This is how it is. And if you don't like it, oh well, see you later. That's just how it is. Yep.
Yeah. Thank
cool.
you.
Okay, cool. So, sorry, as I promised, we'll move on to something a bit more upbeat before we leave.
Oh, I don't know if we can really, because that wasn't going to be my next topic.
What's your next?
No. I think Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
when I saw that post early yesterday morning, I don't know. It's kind of one of them shocking things that when you don't hear anything about, you do hear about actors when they fall ill and they say, oh, I've been struggling with an illness, I've had something happen, or and when you hear about them dying, it's always a sad time, but you kind of go, well, I did hear that he or she wasn't too well, but then when you see someone who was 43 years old, and when you see him in films, he's like, he didn't, I mean, only 43, but he didn't look like he was that age at all. He was very well kept. He had like a great physique, especially when you do see him in Black Panther. And when you see something like it, it really hits you, and you just think, this is someone who you could imagine like next 20, 30 years could become this. He already was a fantastic actor. I don't really think I've seen a film of his that I didn't enjoy. But when you think of, the career that could have still been ahead of him, not just Black Panther sequels, but you could have had, so many different films. Even like recently, he was in the Spike Lee film The Five Bloods, which is a bloody good movie. And even though he wasn't a big part of that film, he was still very. He really did stand out. He was definitely a guy who he made himself known. He was never a show off. He was never someone who was hogging the attention or trying to get the limelight all to himself. But he was someone who did make an impact. And whether you're an MCU fan or if you're a historical fan, if you see him playing James Brown in Get On Up, which is a fantastic biopic if you haven't seen it yet, or like I say, or even last year, 21 Bridges, a film that, okay, may not be the best movie you could watch. It is a bit of a predictable film, but he's just so effortlessly good in that movie. He's someone who really did command the presence of the screen. And, I don't know really what to think. I just don't see, it's someone who had such a great future ahead of him, someone who could have been like, maybe the next big thing, the next go-to actor, the guy who basically gets picked for all these big film roles. And he was still so fresh in his career. He'd only been for a few years really in that spotlight, and to see that see someone with such great potential, it's horrible and heartbreaking. And then even as well for his family, for his friends, even like, majority of people, like, they didn't know he was ill. And it's so easy nowadays for things like this to get out in the public, for people to have their personal life known and to be, tabloid headlines everywhere. But it was never really reported. There was never any news about it. And in a way, it's quite nice because he didn't have all that attention that obviously he would not have wanted. Come on, who really wants to have someone on you 24/7 saying, "Oh, so how you feeling today? What's going on today? Hey, how's it been going with all your chemotherapy?" It's like, no, what? Why?
It's the fact that he did so many movies while it was an art, in chemo, and it's just like, I had no idea. It was when it came up, I was just like, what? It didn't sort of make any sense to me whatsoever.
I mean, the Marvel movies were particularly physically intensive, and to maintain that level of training and acting, but particularly the training in order to maintain the physique, the stunt work, the practice, be doing chemo at the same time is frankly absolutely astonishing.
He also went and he visited children with cancer.
Yeah, that video was circling as well, hasn't it? When he actually got really emotional. I remember when that first came out, and even I think the father of one of the kids he visited has obviously done his own dedication, and he found it so heartbreaking that someone that obviously cared so much about obviously kids that were suffering, and he was taking his time, he was showing his dedication, and it's any death is a big loss. That's no question at all. But to see someone, as I said, who it looked like they still had more than probably like another lifetime still ahead of them, and to see that cut short on anyone is horrible. Never.
Yeah, that this has been one of those deaths that really, and just like you said, every death is really a big loss, but this one really hit me hard. This one it hit me like a ton of bricks. I think because of his significant impact in the short amount of time that he came into the general public light with the movies that he did, which the first time I saw Chadwick was through Gunn Up, where he played James Brown, and which he did wonderfully, and that is not an easy role to do. He was an animated character, James Brown was, so to do that and get the voice right and the moves and everything was fantastic. But more so then was the fact that I took my kids to see Black Panther, and the excitement on their faces and the joy while they were watching the movie, that can't. That's just something money can't buy, and he was an instrumental part of that.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really gutting.
There was someone that I used to work with, and we got talking just shortly after Black Panther came out, and he just said to me, it was one good thing that he could take his kids to go and see a superhero that was of color, and it was something that it's not like he was the first one. We obviously did have Wesley Snipes in the Blade films. You also had like in the X-Men, you had Halle Berry. There's been multiple actors, multiple characters, but for someone to headline a film like that and basically be from not complete obscurity. Black Panther's always been a very vital character in Marvel, but to see a character like that go from relatively unknown to one of the most well-known superheroes now of modern times, it is a massive achievement, and most of that did come because of Chadwick Boseman. He was able to bring a character who was fun, was exciting, was different, and literally was just like it. And compared to other Marvel actors, you look at Robert Downey Jr. He done it his own way. He basically played the part how he wanted to, and he stands out because of how he done it. And Chadwick Boseman done the same thing, obviously in a different way, but he basically had that presence about him. He wasn't trying to show off. He wasn't ever trying to be the center of attention, but you couldn't help but admire him when he was on the screen. He was just this presence that was just like, wow, makes an impact from that very first second. And I don't think you're going to get anything like that again for such a long time. I don't think you're going to have anyone who can just really set
how
that
do you replace him? So how
you don't.
You don't.
You don't.
I
What
know.
you do, they will do Black Panther 2. There's no question about it. But I would say you don't ever do a new T'Challa. You don't ever have someone to replace that version of Black Panther. I actually spoke about this with a friend of mine earlier. We were messaging, and he said to me about recasting Chadwick Boseman. The first thing I said was, no, you don't. I said, you can honour Chadwick Boseman. I said, because that is what that film would be. That would be honouring the character. But I said, you have to, obviously the Black Panther mantle, it has already been established, it's not just one person, which it was never going to be the case anyway. And you always heard these rumours that, someone else could maybe take the mantle up in a sequel. And for me, Danai Gurira, who plays Okoye, that would be my ideal candidate to carry on the Black Panther mantle. Because not just would that be a fantastic character arc for Okoye, this is someone who, in the film was a devout follower of T'Challa. This was someone who was by his side all the way through, was his most confident advisor, his most powerful soldier. And not just that, but I think Danai Gurira would probably do it mainly because she wants to honour, her former friend and castmate. And I think anyone who was, if someone said to an actor, go, oh, we want you to play T'Challa, I can't think of any person saying, yes, I'll do it. I can't see anyone saying, yes, I will play that character. That is just my opinion. I'm not saying that's definitely how it will go, but I just can't see anyone would say, yes, I will take up that role, because it's like, well, no, that role's already been taken up by someone, and I will never want that to change.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be. I think it should be retired. Dana Guerrero would be perfect. Actually, I know there was talks about. Well, not talks. There haven't been any talks at all. But people just saying, "Oh, maybe it should be Shuri, who was Letitia Wright, who played her, as that's what took place in the comics. She took over. But whether she'd be the right person." You have to look. I mean, obviously, you go by the comics, but of course, the cinematic universe could be a bit more imaginative with the story. I could go with Dana Guerrera, that probably would be equally just as good, if not better. So yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's something you could do straight away, though. You'd have to sort of like.
No, it's not.
It's
it won't be a. It's
like the Joker in
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger's Joker.
Because that was the thing.
It was perfect.
Because he was going to be in The Dark Knight Rises. That was the original plan. It was going to be like the first third or the first quarter of the movie was going to be still with the Joker, and because of the Joker, that was going to be what thrust the Dark Knight Rises into its main premise. But it's one of the things that, same thing again, when it came up, I reckon there was probably talks behind the scenes saying, "Oh, how do we recast the Joker?" And I could just imagine Christopher Nolan's just gone, "Well, you don't."
Yeah.
It's like, well, the Joker's the biggest selling villain. We have to. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to bring it back. And this is the problem with Hollywood. It's been shown so many times over. If anything, they just go, "Oh no, we can just get someone else to do it. We can just hire another actor." And obviously not the same kind of situation, but. Look at Guardians of the Galaxy with James Gunn. He got fired for messages. Don't get me wrong. I don't condone anything he's done, because what he said was quite disgusting, was quite horrible. But these were messages from years and years ago, things that he'd apologized for so many times previously. But they went, no, you're out. And it did stink, the whole dismissal thing. And every director that was then put forward, they just went, no, I'm not touching that. No, I'm not going to do that film. No, that's James Gunn's work, not my work. And even Taika Waititi, because he was I think he was the favourite at one point, and he actually just came out and said, "Look, guys, I want thank you for thinking of me, but that's James Gunn's films. That's not my films."
Taika Waititi's Jojo Rabbit. Wow, what a film!
I love that film.
I love that film. It's so good.
It's such a funny movie, and it's
so
quite
emotional.
an upsetting film as well.
Yeah. Do you know what got me? It's sort of back to the BLM thing, but Black Klansman. Sorry, White Clans. Black Klansman. Sorry, Black Klansman.
Yeah.
I saw that 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I initially thought it was just going to be a piss take or a comedy, but it's got some really poignant, or a lot of very poignant and hard-hitting bits where I felt very uncomfortable afterwards, and sort of I was just like, shit, man, that hit home a lot more than I thought it was going to.
Yeah,
and
I watched that recently with my wife Curly, and that was a great movie. I'm not going to rewatch it. I just came out of that furious.
Yeah.
I came out of that really, really angry. But people think like that. And just like I came out of that absolutely furious, which is not great when you're about to go to bed. but yeah, I mean, it's just hats off to Spike Lee for making a fantastic movie, and there's lots of humor in it. There's lots of great humor. But also the underlying theme never at any point overwhelmed. And but
it was very
I came
subtle.
out that.
The humor, is because you watch it and you watch some of the adverts and you're like, that's quite subtle. Not subtle. You think, oh, this is going to be a comedy, but it's not. It's that there's subtle comedy within it, and it's just but it's not. It's very sort of serious in its own way, and you're just kind of going, that's that sort of uncomfortable truth that you sort of kind of you need in your life.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. I can remember going to
has anyone
to see it.
Has anyone watched Hidden Figures?
No.
Yes, that was a
That-
few years ago. I think that was out.
Yeah, that's like 2016. That was basically about the black female mathematicians that were behind doing all the numbers
For NASA.
the
Yes,
exactly for the
I
Apollo
have seen
lunar
it.
landings.
I've seen it. Yes, yes.
And to a point where it was a dramatization of what happened. It was not we've only got 5 minutes to find this one girl. It was like several days, in fact. But it happened like the lead astronaut would not go ahead with the mission until Catherine had double checked us. He did not trust anyone else.
And I will say another example, which I think has helped quite a few people to understand, obviously what goes on with lives, is in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because this is a comedy show which is quite zany, quite silly at times, but then there are some episodes that do leave you really thinking. And one of the biggest ones was there was an episode in season 4 where Terry Crews' character, he's trying to find a blanket that belonged to his children, because obviously Jake and Amy are terrible people and they lose it, but as he's obviously looking around his neighborhood at night, a policeman sees him and obviously racially profiles him, and it's quite horrible to think, like, quite a zany premise to begin with, and then all of a sudden it goes really dark and really serious, and it's the whole conflict that goes from that episode for the rest of it, because obviously Terry Crews is like, well, hang on, I've been harassed as a black man. I haven't been harassed as just a man walking around at night. I've been harassed because of color of my skin. And when you watch that episode again, even like a second or a third time, it still really hits you when you watch it and you see not just how he takes it and how the officer that obviously had the gun pointed at him, how their interactions were, but it's also like all the people around him, because then his kids start asking about, why was Daddy arrested? Why did this happen? And then even like his own superior officer, Captain Holt, saying, well, actually, I know you want to make a complaint, you want to make an example of this officer, but I don't want you to. And then it's it's like the conflicts of their own personalities and their own histories and what they've each had to go through. And it's one of the episodes that don't get me wrong, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is one of my favorite shows, and that is one of the best episodes. But it's never any easier every time you watch it. Every time you sit through that episode, it's 22 minutes of it's almost like anxiety driven as well, because you see these people that have normally got such a happy-go-lucky thing about them. You got these characters, especially Terry Crews. Terry Crews is like one of the most fun people you could ever see on screen, and to see him go into such a serious part, every time I see that episode, it just really makes me think, well, hang on, there is more than just the comedy, more than just the the wacky adventures that this police crew go for every week. And it's one of them things that, I know it shouldn't be learnt through TV shows, but I think this is how a lot of people are going to obviously learn to change and learn to maybe think better about themselves and others.
The I haven't seen many Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's one of those ones, not like I don't dislike, I dislike it. It's just that I've never sat down to watch it all. But the captain in it,
yes,
Andre
Raymond Holt.
Raymond Holt.
Yeah, Raymond Holt. The guy, he's played by a guy called
Andre Brower.
Yeah, that's it. Andre Brower. He is in one of my favoriteest films ever. Glory.
Rise of the Silver Surfer?
No, it's called Glory, and it's about the 54th Massachusetts during the American Civil War, and it's got Morgan Freeman in it. It's got Denzel Washington in it. Obviously, he's in it, and it's got Matthew Broderick in it, and it's basically about one of the first black Union regiments to fight during the American Civil War. And it's amazing. I cry every time at the end of it, man. It's so good, and he's one of the main characters in it. He enlists, and it's so good, man. Ash, have you ever seen Glory? Have you ever seen the film Glory?
No.
Yeah, you should watch it, man. Seriously, they're historically, I think they were called the Swamp Angels and stuff. They're basically a Union regiment. raised to sort of fight against the Confederates and stuff, and it's so good. Like there's a speech in it, like like Denzel Washington's character in it. He's like he's an escaped slave, and he doesn't give a shit, and he's really sort of like angry at the world, and like Morgan Freeman like sits him down, and he's sort of it's hard to explain, but it's like it's so powerful. Like, man, you need to watch that film. Like go away, get it. It's amazing. It's so good. And he's Andre Breuer's in it, and so amazing. It's just like it makes me emotional every time watching it and stuff. And like I remember watching it back in sort of like when I was a kid and stuff, and just being like blown away by it. But it's just so good, so good. I can't praise it enough. It's so good. Yeah, you definitely should watch it, man. It's just like, it's about their trials and tribulations, about the start of them. It's the guy. What? Oh, I can't even remember the name of the captain. Captain Gould Shaw, who played by Broderick, who basically raises, after the Battle of Antietam, raises this regiment, because in the end, it's at this time the Emancipation Proclamation has occurred, and it's now what was a war for union is now a war for slavery, against slavery, and he basically raises this regiment, the 54th Massachusetts. It's about them basically at the start, basically, pay, and there's loads of sort of kind of ties in with sort of modern society. They wouldn't get paid the same as white soldiers. They wouldn't get the same equipment as white soldiers. They would spend most of their time doing like building defenses and doing manual labor, and they wouldn't get to fight. And it's about how he had to go and basically blackmail sort of senior officers and things to get them into fight and stuff. And it's got quite a sad and powerful ending and stuff, but it's definitely worth. There's just some of the interactions, especially that there's one, and I'll not repeat it because there is a lot of N words flying around in it, but it's between Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington, and he's basically talking about the fight for against slavery, and oh man, so beautiful, so nice, so good. Definitely watch it, man. You should definitely watch it. Yeah. Anyway, I love a good war film, but I like that one is just definitely one of my favorites. Like, it's just so good. Yes. What I was going to say. Oh, something completely random, but it's something I watched yesterday. Before we Project Power. Netflix.
Oh yeah. Yes. There's been a few mentions of that one. I still haven't watched it yet.
You seen Ash?
No, I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, it's basically about it's got Jason Levitt, and it's got what's his name?
Jason Levitt.
Not Jason Levitt. Oh, what's his name?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, that's it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Who's Jason Levitt?
Yeah, Jason Levitt. Me and names.
That's his twin brother who does the behind the back scenes.
One thing we'll find out. Matt is very bad with names. I blame my dyslexia.
Joe, if I look it up later and there is actually a Jason Levitt, I'll be going, oh shit, he was doing the pickup shots afterwards.
Maybe. But it's also got bloody
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx. Yeah, and it's basically about a pill, and the pill you can take, and it will give you a superpower for 5 minutes, and it's like a drug. And it's sort of portrayed as something that is a drug, and the police are sort of trying to find it, and there's all kinds of cool stuff. And it's like, but the pill you take, you don't automatically get what superpower you want. You just get a superpower, and it could be good and it could be bad, and it affects you and things. It's really good. I watched that last night. Really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I saw it, but I've not managed to see it yet. So I need to go on there.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I was going to say there is one big thing of film news this week, and obviously if you can go in a very safe way, particularly if it's like an open air, like a drive-through cinema, which seems to be cropping up quite a lot at the moment in the UK, please go to it. This week finally saw the release after 29 months of delays. The New Mutants, the final Fox X-Men film, it's finally out there to the world, and critics have not enjoyed it so far from what I've seen. It's the average quote I've seen has been basically rating it around a 3 or 4 out of 10, or as someone said, it's not Dark Phoenix bad, but I'd still rather scratch my own eyes out. Which as I saw that on Twitter, I was like, okay. It still makes me want to watch it though, because it's one of them films that I remember reading the New Mutants comics some time ago, and it's quite intriguing because it is like a darker version of the X-Men. It's a more supernatural, I guess is the best way of putting it. It's quite almost like a horror spin, and even just looking at the cast of it as well, the cast is quite fantastic. Especially Maisie Williams is in it. I can't ever remember his name, but the creepy looking teenager dude from Stranger Things. Was it whichever one goes missing? This is so long. I've watched it. All the names are going. But
you're getting off me.
Yeah.
I'm horrible with names.
Yeah. And I know. And Anya Taylor-Joy, who's like a very up and coming actress as well. She plays the lead part, who's basically the sister of Colossus.
Magic, isn't it?
Yeah. Magic, that's it. Yeah, that's her character. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this. Hopefully in the next week, if I do, I do keep hearing about all these pop up, obviously drive-through cinemas that are starting to come up now. So I will be looking to watch it. And Tenet is also out in this.
My brother said my brother's seen it and he said it was absolutely amazing. He says it's really complicated, but standard Christopher Nolan stuff. But yeah. Really good.
I am looking forward to it. I think especially like a Christopher Nolan film, that is like an event now. That is as even the man himself suggested, you have to see it in the cinema or you have to see it on the big screen. Obviously, this is the big thing as well because of how the world is at the moment. I would never condone anyone to say, you have to go to the cinema to watch it. But obviously, if you do go, please make sure you are safe. Make sure you are taking all the precautions that are in place, or do what I did. Last time I went to the cinema, just looked for one film that only had like maybe 1 or 2 people in it on like a 200 seat. It's like, yeah, John, I'm going to go right to the back of that screen. That'll be fine. I'll be happy enough there. And it's and this is like the first big film actually to come out since obviously lockdown began. So. Yeah, it's tricky, but like I say, as long as people are being safe and being careful, it should be all right. But I still feel in that idea of you don't have to go if you don't really need to, and who needs to go to the cinema? That's another.
I love going to the cinema. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I haven't been because of everything. And
that's it. Yeah. No one hates the cinema really. Everyone has a varying type of film or genre that they like, but having something on the big screen, especially like if it's something you can enjoy in the crowd, why would you not like that? But obviously, if everything going on, it's very different. And being honest, I kind of want the cinemas to. I mean, I want the whole world to get kind of back to normal now because I've watched so much Netflix and Amazon now. It's just like
running out of stuff.
I need to get outside.
Yeah. I know I'm running out of stuff. All the history documentaries, all the documentaries and stuff are gone, and I'm like, I'm scraping through YouTube
at National Geographic stuff on Disney Plus now. That's how bad it's getting. I'm running out of stuff.
Don't knock National Geographic stuff.
Oh, I'm not
really cracking stuff.
I am not knocking National Geographic. That used to be a lot of my teenage years was watching National Geographic Channel.
Was that just for the boobies there, Jon Jo?
Teenage
years.
Yeah, I keep saying it was National Geographic, but it was like Channel 900 or something on the Sky. Yeah, that's it. And it was like past 12 o'clock at night. But anyway, completely unrelated. Anyway.
Okay. I think we're going to sort of kind of tail it off there because we've been on for about an hour 45 and I don't want to sort of go on for too long. It's been very good though. So yes. We were going to talk about because it's gonna span on for another sort of like hour and a half, and I think people want to.
I was gonna say, Matt, I've got plans tomorrow. So.
I think everybody does. So yeah, I'll leave it there. But Ash, thank you very much, man, for joining us. Super insightful, and I really appreciate it. And I'm really glad I had you on. Make sure you watch Glory, man. It's an awesome film.
I will do.
Yeah, definitely watch it, and let me know what you think of it when you watch it after you watched it. But But yes, thank you very much, man. Super insightful. Really, really appreciate your time and your views on things.
No, it's fine. In fact, I actually just a cheeky plug, but I mean it's not a plug. You can actually just like follow. But I actually started a book club.
All right. Awesome.
In response. So all of the posts that I put out and like things that I learn and talk about in regards to social justice and all of that, I just decided to do a book club where we would read books authored from people of color, and we would alternate, fiction and non-fiction each month, just so that it gains understanding really.
Do you have is there any links? You could send me a bunch of links, but do you have like a Facebook group or anything?
It's on Instagram, so if you go to growth.bookclub, then we share. We tell you the book that we're going over, and then we share little nuggets and gems in that book, and the lessons that we derived from that book in there, as well as other fun facts on that page. I think we're opening actually. I'll have to ask my wife, but I think we're opening for the next session. So if anyone wants to join in and get the book and join in the session, they can do. But yeah, it's
growth.bookclub.
Yeah. Sorry?
A growth.bookclub, is that what it is?
Yeah, growth.bookclub, yeah.
Growth. There you are. Okay, cool. Done. Awesome. Cool. Right, okay, I'll stick that on the in the blurb and stuff. So yeah, everybody give that a whirl. Growth.bookclub. So yeah, thank you again, man. I really appreciate your time and all your insights. It's been super interesting. For me, for tonight, thank you to everybody who's been watching. Paddy, thanks for the comments on Facebook. I've been Matt Geary. With me tonight has been Peter Ray Allison.
Good night, stay safe and look out for each other.
Jon Jo Cosgrove.
Good night, everybody.
And Ash Patterson.
Thank you very much. Take care. Good night.
Cheers, guys. Bye.